What if the moment your life started changing didn't feel like hope? What if it felt like silence, not empty silence? The kind that feels heavy, like something is about to break but hasn't yet, because that's exactly where this started. I wasn't thinking about anything important. I was kneeling on the cold concrete floor of my neighbor's basement, trying to fix a leaking pipe that had been dripping for weeks, tools scattered around me, water soaking into the corners. That faint smell of damp air that makes everything feel older than it is. Above me, a single yellow bulb flickered every few seconds, and every time it flickered, the shadows moved, not dramatically, just enough to make you feel like you weren't alone. Her name was Samina. She had moved in about 6 months before that night. And if I had to describe her in one sentence, I'd say she looked like someone who had learned how to survive quietly. You'd see her in the mornings watering her plants, carrying groceries, smiling just enough to be polite, but never enough to feel real. The kind of smile that says, "I'm okay. Don't ask questions." We weren't close, just neighbors, people who say good morning and keep walking until the night it rained. It wasn't a storm, just steady rain. The kind that makes the world feel smaller, quieter, like everything outside is fading. She knocked on my door that evening, not urgently, carefully, like she wasn't sure she had the right to ask. When I opened it, she said her basement pipe had burst, but it wasn't panic in her voice. It was exhaustion, the kind that sits deeper than a bad day. I said yes without thinking. Maybe because I needed something to do, or maybe because something in me recognized something in her. That's how I ended up in her basement, fixing a pipe, not knowing I was about to hear a question that would stay with me long after everything else faded. At first, she stood behind me, quiet, watching, not helping, just present. I could feel her there more than I could hear her. Then she stepped closer, and in a voice so calm it almost didn't register. She asked, "Have you ever felt like your life quietly fell apart and nobody noticed?" My hand stopped, mid-motion. It wasn't the kind of question you expect in a basement. It wasn't small talk. It wasn't casual. It was the kind of question people carry for years and only ask when something inside them finally gets too heavy. I didn't answer right away, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I knew exactly what she meant, because the truth is, my life hadn't collapsed all at once. There wasn't a moment, no explosion, no disaster. It was slower than that. A job that led nowhere, friends that slowly disappeared, dreams that didn't die, just got quieter. Days that started to look exactly the same dot until weeks turned into months, and you realize you're not living anymore. You're just continuing. From the outside, everything looked fine. I paid my bills. I showed up. I smiled when I was supposed to, but inside, I felt like I had become background noise in my own life. So when she asked that question, it didn't feel random. It felt like she had reached into something I hadn't even admitted yet. I nodded, still looking at the pipe, because turning around would have made it real, and then she started talking, not fast, not emotional, just honest. She said her life used to feel like it had direction, plans, purpose, something she was moving toward. But somewhere along the way, things didn't break. They faded. Small disappointments, small losses, small decisions to just keep going instead of asking, "Am I still happy?" Until one day, she realized she didn't recognize her own life anymore. The basement felt quieter after that, but not empty, understanding. That's what filled the space. When I finally fixed the pipe, the dripping stopped, and for a moment, we just stood there, listening. No water, no noise, just stillness. Then she asked another question. "Do you think people like us can fix things?" Not the pipe, not the house, ourselves. I didn't have an answer ready. I wasn't used to thinking like that. Most days, I was just trying to get through. But standing there in that dim light, something shifted. I realized something simple, something uncomfortable. Fixing the pipe wasn't the hard part. Admitting something needed fixing was, so I told her the only honest thing I had. I don't know if everything can be fixed, but maybe the goal isn't to go back. She looked at me. Really? Looked at, so I continued. Maybe it's about building something new from what's left. She didn't respond right away, but I saw it, that small shift, that tiny release in her shoulders. Hope doesn't always look like excitement. Sometimes it looks like less weight. After that night, we started talking. At first, small things, then bigger ones. Regrets, fears, things we hadn't said out loud in years. And something strange happened, not dramatic, not life-changing overnight, but noticeable. I started waking up with more energy, thinking again, caring again. She smiled differently. Not polite, not rehearsed, real. And one evening, weeks later, she said something I still think about. Sometimes one honest conversation is enough to remind someone they're not stuck. And she was right, because that night was never about a broken pipe. It was about two people standing in the middle of lives that had quietly unraveled and finally admitting it. Not fixing everything, just starting. And sometimes that's all it takes.